Then this is our year 12 biology teacher, Mr. Bashir. Then he is currently working in a very top private school in South Melbourne. He got long-term experience in VCE Biology, and he has been assisted numerous VCE students to achieve high marks in biology subject. I may stop sharing from now on so we can spend more time with him now. Thank you. Your turn.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Unfortunately, I cannot see many faces. I wish I was able to see more faces, but that's okay. I assume you guys would be a little bit tired. It's been a long day. So what I'll do is I'll try to make it brief, but I will be asking you questions throughout this lesson. So I would love it if I ask a question and you put your hand up to share your opinion or your answer. That would be really great. And it will make me think that you guys are there. You guys are awake and active. So what I'll do is, Olivia, can I start now for the presentation? Because
yes,
I said we're
definitely.
starting.
Your time.
Yep, no worries. Because I thought we're starting at 3:50, but yeah, let me just start now. I'll start there. All right, so I'll start from the start. I'll just briefly introduce myself. I think Olivia and Emily already introduced me, but I'll just briefly touch upon my background. So my name is Mr. Farooq Bashir. I'm currently year 7 to year 10 science teacher at an independent school. I've been biology teacher for the past 6 years. I have Bachelor of Health Science from Monash University. And then I also was quite passionate about teaching. So I did Master of Teaching from Monash University as well. All right, so one thing, I saw this quote the other day and I really thought I wanted to share this with you. It says that the greatest gift you can give your children are the roots of responsibility and the wings of independence. So here, I would like to get the attention of both the parents and the children. I think, firstly, for the children, you're very lucky and you're very blessed, in fact, to have parents who sacrifice their whole Sunday to sit here with you because they want to give you independence. They want to give you wings of independence. They want to give you a sense of responsibility so that you can be a free, independent person. You can take on life challenges ahead. Most of you are in VCE. You're going to be going to the outside world. I think you should be very grateful to your parents that they've sacrificing their time for the best interest of you. Now it is up to you. It is your responsibility to take on the challenge and give back to your parents. I think it will be a sense of pride for them when the parents see their children being successful. So hopefully their sacrifice is worthwhile when you finish VCE and you're successful in the future ahead. All right, so today's outline I want to focus on is firstly just briefly introduce you to VCE Biology to see how TopScope takes on teaching VCE Biology. Then I'm going to be mainly focusing on one aspect of biology, and I'll cover a little bit of genes. We're going to watch video on that. We're going to cover chromosomes. We're going to learn about how genes are passed from one parent to another. We're going to learn a little bit about genetics disorders. We're going to learn a little bit about gene technology and how it has transformed our lives. And then I'll give you time, question time. Look, I want to make this very clear. Some of the words that I use may only be understood by the biology students. However, I promise I will do my best to simplify the words so that it's easy for everyone to understand. But if you have any question, just raise your hand and I will give you a chance to ask a question and I will try to answer it. All right, so how do we run VCE biology classes at TopScope College? So the first thing personally I like to do is to instill confidence in the students. I think as VCE students, I learned this the very hard way, is that when I went to VCE, I did not have any confidence. I was a very dedicated student. but I was from a refugee background. So I needed that sense of confidence. When I went to VCE, the teachers assumed that I know everything. However, I think this was a big mistake on the teacher's end. And that kind of killed my confidence in the sense that I thought I was, don't mind me using this word, I thought I was dumb. I thought I should have known this way earlier. However, if the teacher went back a little bit and asked me question, examined me to do pre-assessment to see which level I'm at, and then start from there, I think I would have done a lot differently and a lot better. And I wish that was for me. So my plan is to give you that style of teaching, to see which level you are at and then start from there, and hopefully we build confidence from there. That's my first priority, and that's top scope first priority is to have confident students so they can confidently take on challenges. The second way we do this is we do thorough explanation of content. We make sure that the explanation is starts from basic to top. We have differentiated learning. So students that are doing really well, we give them more challenging tasks, and students that are a bit perhaps behind, we start with basic. So we start with easy content so that we can build them to more challenging tasks so they can take on. We have VCE style questions. After each content that we discuss, we have VCE style question. Personally, I like exposing students to VCE style questions from the start so that when they go later on down the track towards the end of the term or the end of the year, they do not see VCE exam sacks, VCE assessments, for example, sacks or exams surprising when they see those questions. So my plan is to get you ready from that. And then we have structured assessments, for example, SACs, practicals, where it will be, currently I am working with the science department in my school, so I know what they're doing in terms of VCE assessments, and I try to bring similar assessments to the class over here. And then we also have additional support when required. So there are times when a student says, hey, Mr. Bashir, we went through this task, but I need more help. We have additional classes that could assist you as well. All right. So biology is the study of life. Whenever you hear the word bio, it's life. Biology is the study of life. It begins with the basic entity, which is the non-living atoms. So you combine electrons, neutrons, and protons, it forms an atom. That atom combines to form a molecule, which is the two or more two or more atoms bonded together, it forms DNA. That DNA combines to give organelles. The organelles combine to form a cell. That cell combines to form a creature. That could be human, that could be an ant, that could be animal, any type. And they become more and then more, and that creates an ecosystem and a biosphere of life. So that's in a nutshell entire biology. But I cannot focus on every area of biology, and I love this topic, which is the genetics. So I've only picked the genetics for today, and I want to teach that. So cell, I would like to make this very clear that the building block of life is cell. So every living thing is made up of cell. That's the brick of every living thing. Just like a house is built from bricks, every human, every animal, every plant, every living thing is made up of cell. Each cell contains DNA in the nucleus. That is the genetic code. DNA is passed from both parents to the child through sperm and egg cells. DNA from both parents form a new child that looks different from the parents. So did you know that the human body consists of around 37.2 trillion cells? So that's just a fun fact. All right, so what is genetics? So genetics is the study of how traits are passed from parents to offspring. I would just like to share a video with you on this topic, and then I will go into the smaller topics and discuss that. So I'd just like you to watch this video for a bit. Let's see.
Biological programming behind all life forms. But what exactly is the science of genetics? And what does its future hold? Genetics is the study of heredity. the expression of traits and how they are passed from generation to generation. For thousands of years, humans have observed this inheritance of traits and implemented their knowledge to breed and domesticate plants and animals. However, the science behind inheritance was only starting to be understood in the mid-19th century. Around 1865, Austrian monk and botanist Gregor Mendel published the results of his hybridization studies of pea plants. In his findings, he noted the role of factors that influence the expression of traits. These factors later became known as genes. Each human has between 20,000 and 25,000 genes. This collection, called a genome, determines a person's traits by influencing factors on a cellular level. Genetic information is stored in every cell's nucleus. Structures called chromosomes carry this information in the form of deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA. DNA is a double helix of nucleotides, chemical compounds composed of sugar and phosphate molecules, along with the bases thymine, adenine, guanine, and cytosine. These segments of DNA are what we call genes, and it is within those genes that chemical compounds provide the coding for all information about a person's inherited traits. Human cells contain so much DNA to carry this large amount of information that, if unraveled, the DNA in each cell would be over 6 feet long. At the turn of the 21st century, an international effort to decode human DNA was launched. Called the Human Genome Project, it ended up identifying about 99% of the entire human genetic sequence.
A revolution in medical science whose implications far surpass even the discovery of antibiotics.
Discoveries in genetics research have unearthed tremendous opportunities in medicine, such as genetic testing and the manipulation of genes. But with these opportunities come risks and ethical questions, and finding the answers to those questions may be the next stage of our understanding of genetics.
All right, I will explain this in detail. Please don't get a panic attack if you heard some of those words that didn't make sense to you. But genetics is the study of how traits are passed from parents to an offspring. This includes the hair color. So the way our hair color is, it's a combination of both parents. It's the eye color, it's the nose shape, it's the teeth, it's the size of our eyebrows, etc. All right, so just think of genetics as the book of life. So the book of life, the book has a volume 1 and 2. It has chapters, it has pages, it has words, letters, and spellings. Similarly, DNA, genetics is also, think of volume 1 and 2 as the genome. That's the overall name for genetics. Think of the chapters as chromosomes, the pages of the book as genes, the words as triplets, the letters A, T, C, G, because that's what adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine, they make DNA. And then spelling change is the genetic variant, which is why we look different from our parents. Okay, so what's a genome? So on an organism's complete set of DNA is called its genome. Similarly, it's the volume 1 and volume 2 book. So the entire DNA of a human is what is called the genome. So if all the DNA in your cells, so all DNA is in the nucleus, if all that DNA were laid out in a line, it would reach the sun and back around 70 times. So our genetics are tightly packed in our human body through amazing structures called chromosomes. What is a chromosome? So a chromosome is a long DNA molecule with part of all genetic material in an organism. So every cell of our body has 46 chromosomes, with the exception of sperm cell and egg cell, which has 23 chromosomes. Those 23 chromosomes have all the instruction for our body. So our eye color, our hair color, our height, certain diseases, all of them contains that in the 46 chromosomes. So 23 chromosome from one parent, 23 chromosome from another parent combined, and it forms a cell. This happened through fertilization. So you get an egg and you get a sperm. They have 23 chromosome. They combine and they form a new cell. And that new cell becomes a human life. So every human contains genetic information from both mom and dad. So both of them. Which is why we look different. So our eye color might be different from our parents, or it might be this more similar to one of them, but essentially we look different from our parents. All right. So what is a gene? So we study a chromosome. Chromosome is all the DNA tightly packed together. A gene is a specific segment of that chromosome, of that DNA. That gene could be responsible for certain proteins. It could be responsible for your eye color. Say this person should have this eye color. It could be responsible for the shape of your hair. This person should have curly hair. This person should have wavy hair. So it's a combination of mom and dad's hair that will make that type of hair. It will be decoded and that type of trait will be visible on you. Each gene contains information about any type of trait. So God forbid, one of our parent has certain disease. That disease is passed to us through a gene, and that gene will decode, and that disease might be passed on to us. So gene is responsible for all features in our body, including our hair color, height, etc. But how are genes passed from a parent to a child? Can anyone tell me how our genes pass from one parent to another? I would like a hand up. Anyone? No one? I would love a hand up. All right, so I'll just basically explain how genes are passed from one parent to a child. So to form a fetus, an egg from the mother and sperm from the father come together. So the egg and sperm have half set of chromosomes. That is 23 chromosomes. So the egg and sperm come together. It gives the baby the full sets of chromosomes. What is a full set of chromosome? Can someone tell me in the chat? I mentioned earlier, what is a full set of chromosome? 46, Patrick, well done. How many are in the egg cell? How many chromosomes are in an egg cell? I would love to see some answers. Yep, Zhang, Maggie, Alexander, well done. How many are in the male sperm? 23, good. So both of them combine with all the genetic information. They combine the mom and dad, and then therefore it forms a new child. All right, so certain genetic disorders are also passed from the parents. So when the 23 chromosome from mother and the father combines, if there are certain diseases present within those chromosomes, it can pass to the children. For example, Down syndrome is one of them that could be passed from parents to their children. Thalassemia is another one. Cystic fibrosis is another one. Tay-Sachs disease is another one. Sickle cell anemia is another disease. And there are many more, but they are passed to the children. What has happened nowadays is that a lot of the time, gene technology has come into existence that can potentially prevent these diseases during birth. So the gene that is responsible for a certain disease, for example, Down syndrome, it's present, say, God forbid, in one of your parents, scientists and doctors, they can see that gene and remove that, and therefore Down syndrome will be prevented. Similar, sickle cell anemia. Say one of the parents got sickle cell anemia, they're going to pass it to their child. Scientists can detect that and remove that gene from it, and therefore it can be prevented. So gene technology. Who knows what gene technology is? Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up if you know what a gene technology is. Anyone? Does dwarfism gets passed down? I'm not too sure with that one, but potentially yes. So if there is it's not just that it gets passed down. It could be genetic mutations. So for example, mom and dad, they have perfect set of chromosomes. They pass to the child perfect DNA, but because of radiation, because of different environmental condition, it can change, the DNA could change and mutate, and therefore it could result in different outcomes compared to what is passed from parents. So I'm not too sure if dwarfism gets passed down to the parents. Potentially, yes. Yep, Maggie, that is correct. To change the negative gene factor, correct. All right, let me just tell you. All right, so gene technology is the term given to a range of activities concerned with understanding gene expression. So taking advantage of natural genetic variation, modifying genes, and transferring genes to new hosts. So like I gave you an example of gene technology, one thing you can do with gene technology is use bacteria, get their plasmid, remove certain part, inject the insulin production gene, and then that bacteria will increase, and that will produce a lot of insulin. You can extract that insulin and insert it into a human. Another thing you could do is stem cells. So for example, someone is injured, you can get stem cells and put it into that person to get them better quickly. There is cloning. So you want certain shape of tree, you want certain type of wheat, you want certain type of agriculture advantage, you can play up with genes and produce new gene. Another thing is gene therapy. So for example, if someone has got a certain disease within their family history, they can get that gene fixed, and then it could be passed to the child in a healthy manner, so that way that disease can be avoided. Genetic manipulation, for example, if someone wants certain eye color, if someone wants certain height, if someone wants certain type of hair color, hair type in their children, you can play up with that. Also sex selection, a lot of people, they want a baby girl or a baby boy. They can combine X and Y chromosome through gene technology to form a new child. That could be a male or female. So for example, if someone wants a baby boy, then they would get XY chromosome mixed and inserted into the womb, or if they want a girl, they would get XX chromosome to form a girl. So you can do that as well. However, with this, there are certain ethical dilemmas that we're going to learn about. But do you think gene technology, you can say it in the chat if you don't want to say it over the speaker, I would love to hear it. Someone said Pfizer injection is changing our genes. Look, there is no evidence to suggest that. Currently, there is no study to prove that it's not effective. So I would try to disregard just theory that is not confirmed by scientists yet. So it's not proven by scientists that it's changing our genes. Right. So who can tell me what is something that is wrong with gene technology? Anyone in the chat section? Do you think it is ethical to use gene technology?
Can I respond?
Yes.
I think possibly not, isn't it? For example, if you want to have a baby girl, and you are going to ask your doctor that I want to have a baby girl, then doctor will help you to use gene technology to mix it up.
Excellent.
Then we may have more girls than boys in the future.
Possibly.
Yeah.
So thinking of a moral question, there is a possibility that there could be more boys than girls, or there could be more girls than girls, but there is no, when research comes out later on, that we'll find out. I just want to share this video with you that answers some of these questions, because for example, in certain wheat types, when they were trying to grow certain types of wheat where it would repel insects, so certain types of insects like mice, it would repel it. However, when you had that, some studies suggested that it will cause cancer. although there will be more yield of wheat. However, the problem with that is that possibly it could cause other diseases. However, I just want to show you this video that answers some of these questions to hopefully to give you a clear picture of what it's trying to say. Let me just show you this video. I thought it was very interesting to share with you. Let me just bring this up. Where are you, Zoom? Yep. All right, this one.
Organisms, or GMOs, are rapidly becoming genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, are rapidly becoming part of our food chain. But are they safe?
So this video talks about genetically modified organism, and this has happened through gene technology.
GMOs are plants or animals that have had their genetic code manipulated through genetic engineering. A leading myth about GMOs is that rats fed on corn modified to be resistant to a weed killer go on to develop cancer. This stems from a paper published in 2012 by a French research group. But the project was so poorly conducted, including using rats predisposed to getting cancer, that the journal retracted the paper in 2013. Furthermore, no independent test has been able to replicate the study's findings. An internet meme doing the rounds suggests that GMOs are responsible for killing off the humble honeybee. While it's true that honeybee numbers have been in steep decline across the Americas and Europe, this is not due to GM crops. The argument put forward is that some GMOs have a built-in insecticide called Bt toxin that's killing the bees. But Bt toxin is considered to be bee safe because it only kills insects that eat the plant, not the bees which pollinate them. In fact, many beekeepers spray their hives with Bt toxin to get rid of other pest species while leaving the bees alone. Now, full fast facts about GMO safety. A recent count reveals over 33,000 peer-reviewed papers have been published investigating the safety of GMOs. To date, no serious problem has been identified. It's a myth that oils, sugars, and other extracts from GMOs are somehow different from those derived from non-GMO crops, despite early predictions that genetic engineering would produce uncontrollable monsters or dangerous side effects. To date, none have been found, and fears that GMO traits can escape into wild populations are unfounded. After more than 20 years of GMO technology, it's never happened. We've only considered the science and safety of GMOs, and the science is in. They're safe. But there are other concerns about corporatization of the food supply and the political and social handling of the introduction of GMOs that do require further discussion.
All right, let me just stop the sharing of the screen. I'll bring up my presentation again. Did anyone, did that video change your mindset about gene technology? Anyone?
Yeah, seriously, I think it's related to long-term safety issues, not only about ethical issue itself.
Correct. That is a very good point that you raised. The problem with that is we may not see the side effects of it now, but later down the track, to be able to control that at times may be mismanaged. But it definitely adding to, for example, if you look at certain African countries, they modify certain genes in the wheat or in the rice to such that it can withstand droughts. So when you think of that, it can provide food for so many people. So in that case, it would be advantageous for the people in Africa to use those kind of crops. All right. So today, just basically, I think we are almost done. So anyone that's got any question, but before you do that, what is one thing you learned from today? Anyone in the chat section could write, that would be good. Does COVID vaccine have anything to do with the genies? Not that I know of. COVID vaccine is just a vaccine to prepare your immune system for tackling coronavirus. So, for example, if you develop the vaccine, your immune system would have developed immunity to fight that off, so that it doesn't affect you as much. Anyone else? Tom said maybe more research needs to be done. Very good point. I learned there are 23 pairs of chromosome. Excellent. So each cell contains 46 chromosomes, and there are 23 chromosomes in a sperm and 23 in an egg. They combine and they form us. Anyone else? What did you learn from today? I want to read some more things. All right. No one else? All right. Okay. Gene projection. Excellent. You learn about gene projection, how gene can be produced and gene can be manipulated for our interest. All right. Now raise your hand. Okay. How to get rid of the bad gene? Excellent, Olivia. You can potentially get rid of a bad gene for sure. All right. Another thing with this is getting rid of bad genes. So what some athletes do is they inject, if they want to produce more athletic person, they can play up with that as well. So that's why certain drugs or certain genes that could play up with certain drugs are illegal, because they play up with your gene. For example, if a runner is injected with certain gene to produce more red blood cells, then it will give him advantage to run longer. So therefore, those kind of things are considered illegal in the athletic field. Yep, you learned that DNA has chromosomes. So chromosomes are basically, so your DNA, it's coiled up in each cell into 46 chromosomes. And each chromosome is made up of DNA, and each DNA has a section called gene. Excellent, Esther. That's good. Anyone else? I love what you've learned from today. How does CRISPR enable editing gene to be easier? CRISPR, yeah. So CRISPR currently it's still controversial. So a lot of I was watching a documentary on this as well. So they're trying to say that it's not allowed because it's not controlled. For example, certain people that have very severe condition, it's proven that with the CRISPR technology, they have corrected those mistakes. However, there are chances that the CRISPR can sometimes go really wrong, and it could cause other conditions within the heart or other conditions within the body, that you're trying to fix one thing, but another thing goes wrong. So that's why science say that we need more research into CRISPR. All right. Criminology must be applied to a lot of knowledge from gene or genetics. Yeah. Excellent. I love this. It seems like we're going to have quite a few biologists over here. All right. So how do you think gene technology could change in the future? That's a beautiful question. So with the way technology is advancing, at the moment, they're trying to regulate it. So for example, with the CRISPR technology, anyone could get CRISPR from eBay and then play up with their genes. However, government is trying to control that. Scientists are very concerned that it's causing other effects, but definitely it will change a lot in the future. Currently, when we look at the way plants are, scientists are trying to combine the best form of genes to combine and then to give the best form of outcome. For example, I gave example of wheat production or rice production in Africa. So things like that, they get the best form of genes, they combine them, and then it will withstand droughts. So I think a lot will change with time, considering that water is slowly depleting. But definitely more control is required from the government and also the science community to ensure that it doesn't worsen certain conditions. All right. Cool. Excellent. All right. Is anyone interested in biology after this session? Who is interested in biology? Let's see. Let's see who is interested in biology after today's session. I'm much more interested. Maggie, excellent. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the class. I do take bio and organic chemistry as well as chemistry learning young. Well, awesome. They're two best combination. When you combine, you're going to love organic chemistry as well. So combining bio and chemistry, I reckon I see a future scientist or a doctor. Hopefully you can find cure for cancer. Nichen. Yes, Nichen is interesting. I'm looking forward to all these students in our top scope college soon. All right. All right. Last but not least, if you have any questions other than that, you can ask me. Otherwise, we're almost done.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you so much,
Bashir.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. Oh, we do have more candidates quite interested in our biology class.
Learning.
Me
Yeah.
too. Actually, my background is psychology. So neuroscience and biology is part of the psychology component.
Yeah. Well, awesome.
Yes, yes. What
What
topics?
So we are going to cover the entire unit 3 and unit 4. So it's area of study 1, area of study 2 for unit 3. And then we're going to, for unit 4, we're going to cover area of study 1, area of study 2. So we will start with the basics, which is, for example, research method. Then we're going to do a little bit of macromolecules. Currently, I'm doing with students, we're going to learn about proteins and the way they, we learn about cells, the cell structure, the plasma membrane, and the things that go in and out of the cell. We learn about proteins. We learn about DNA, particularly how those genes transcribe, how transcription, etc. takes place. We're going to learn about natural selection, genetic variation, gene technology. We're going to learn about evolution. We have amazing topics ahead of us. I can't wait. I'm very excited.
Great, Mr. Bashir. I have one more question. Actually, biologies, some of students just ask me that it seems it's really difficult for them to get the good marks in the final examination or maybe in EverSec. Maybe how to respond in the questions will be very tricky for them.
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. I think that I learned that the hard way myself when I was in VCE Biology in 2012. So it's basically trying to understand every topic well. If you don't understand topic well and say you memorize the whole book, it's useless. Don't memorize. You need to understand things. Unless you understand concept well, you will not be able to do well. So with top scope, for example, we have students that have like doubtful questions. In my class, it's my rule. There are no dumb questions. Every question is very important. So any doubt that you get about biology, make sure you clarify that. If you don't clarify that, you're going to get into exam. I promise you're going to get some sort of question like that. And then you're going to be like, oh, I wish I asked my teacher. I wish I studied that better. I wish someone explained that to me better. So clearing all concepts well, that's going to get you very high marks. But if you just memorize things, because a lot of people have this misconception that biology is just on memorizing. It's not. It's based on understanding. And the questions that I'm going to give you, the question that VCE, VK is going to give you, they're all based on applying your knowledge. They're not about memorization. Yeah.
Oh, great. So mastering the concepts, they are the most important for every students to learn. I noticed in your class, you always show them the previous past exam or questions, then link back to what they have learned now, isn't it?
Correct. So the thing is, I start with basics. I first ask them question what their level is at. I don't like repeating because sometimes when the knowledge is repetitive, it's boring for them. I see where their knowledge is at, and then based on that, I give them content. So if they require more support, I give them easier tasks. If I see that they're doing really well, I give them challenging tasks. So my main aim is usually to get all questions from VCA from previous exams to embed in the curriculum so that they can get familiar with curriculum, and that gives me a clear picture of whether they've understood the topics or not.
Great. Actually, basically is we practice the exam questions every
Yes.
lesson.
Yeah, that's
Fantastic.
very important for me. Obviously, I do ask basic questions to see whether they've understood, but it's mainly applying knowledge.
Yes, definitely. We have to have enough basic foundation so we can apply them in the future to challenge ourselves.
That is correct. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Does anyone still have questions to ask? If not, we may just have a break, then give Mr. Bashir a little bit break as well. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so
We
much.
enjoy your biology class so much. Super.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome.